Hey everybody, let's get into it. We're here for the ACC Championship game. Clemson going up against SMU. Clemson coming off of their loss to South Carolina. SMU took on Cal. I tell you what, going into this game, and this is probably, in my opinion, I'm just gonna state this now. I think this game might have the biggest impact on what we'll get into later as far as teams sitting on the bubble on the outside that a lot of people think. And I think that's only because SMU has one loss and Clemson has three losses. If Clemson beats SMU there, you bring in the argument of us of should SMU get another chance with that being their second loss. Now we touched on in the Big Ten video about some of these conferences, that second tier team or other teams needing this game to punch their ticket. I think this will be the only ACC team to make it into the playoffs. I think Miami is done; they're out. I think everybody's in agreement with that after what we've seen from them. Clemson has a chance where if they win, they sneak in. Going into the prediction side of this, I think this game has more so to do with Clemson than it does SMU. SMU's been playing pretty good football. You go back and look at some of their stats. And disclaimer, we are a SEC heavy podcast, so don't hold it against us if we're not all the way accurate on some of these games. But it looks like they play really sound football. Some of their scores that they put up, some of their stats that they put up shows that they are who they are, and they've been striving for majority of the season. While as Clemson has stumbled in the couple of real tests that they've had. And we touched on this in the South Carolina versus Clemson video. When Clemson went up against Georgia, they got drubbed and embarrassed. They didn't play anybody else until Louisville. They went up against Louisville in their own house and got just handled on the ground game in that game. And then they went up against South Carolina. And I think that game was only close due to the emotions of the game. I think if South Carolina was sounded mind or on a neutral field or anything like that, I think you would have saw what South Carolina had been the past, what was it, 6 weeks or 5 weeks prior to that game. And that's the only reason they stayed in it. But even in that game, you turned the ball over a couple of times. The coaching decisions, which we touched on Dabo and his stuff majority of the season, where you getting down into field goal range and you're going for it on fourth, and it's costing you points, and you're not getting field goals, and all this and that. And I think this has a lot to do with when it comes to Clemson. Show me you can win a tough game this season. And in this season, they've shown that they have not been able to do it when they've been playing quality opponents, which SMU has proven throughout the year that they are another quality opponent. So when I look at this game, I see Clemson maybe have a shred of hope. I think their ego got bruised a lot with their loss last week to South Carolina. That's a game that they have been chirping and talking about how, hey, we're still Clemson and beating their chest and everything. That only get shut down and lose that game the way that they did. You kind of think maybe you go into this game holding your head down a little bit, and that's where SMU is coming in with all the confidence in the world, thinking that hey, we about to make it to the college football playoffs, and that could be a deciding factor in this game. Let me know how y'all feeling about it. I got SMU winning this one actually pretty comfortably. Give me a 28-14, 28-10, 28-14 type of ball game in this one in favor of SMU, and Clemson goes home.
So I got a couple of different points I want to make about this one. Number one, we are an SEC podcast. To me, in the conference ranking, I got the SEC Usain Bolt ahead of the rest of the pack. I got the Big Ten, maybe like a Noah Lyles in there. And then I got the ACC as just me on the track with them boys. I mean, it's just not comparable when you think of the levels to this game. So in this matchup right here, I think you're 100% correct, Van. It is 100% that team that is on the outskirts looking in is going to be rooting for this game. 110%, which makes the country rooting for this game, which is why it's in a primetime slot. I just got done arguing off camera on why this shouldn't even be a 12 o'clock game because nobody really cares about the ACC champion. The most significant point of this game is there's a guaranteed slot on the line. And to me, I think the true Cinderella story is the SMU. The team that really, I don't care who you are in the world, you've not watched more than 5 to 10 hours of SMU football. You just haven't. Whatever you want to say in the comment section, you haven't. I don't believe you. It just hasn't been there. So you probably watched Clemson on TV because they got some good primetime games. And to me, it's all about what type of Clemson are we going to get in this game. And it's always coming down to the wire where maybe only once or twice in the season Clemson gets the late game touchdown or late game score they need to get over this hump. I do not see that happening in this game. To me, Clemson played better than they should have in the South Carolina game last weekend. They really gave everything they had. I feel like they gave everything they had in that game, and we got the outcome that we got. Just not enough. I feel like against an ACC opponent, Clemson can really score more than what they did against an SEC opponent. But against SMU, I don't think they're going to have enough to get over the hump. I really think this is going to be a shootout type of game. And I think that Dabo is just going to get to a point where he's just not going to have enough answers for this test and lacks of who I got on the field. To me, Clemson is on offense, a three-headed horse. They got Cade, they got Maffa and running back, and they got Williams as a receiver. If it's not one of them three making the big time play, they just don't got enough answers to it. And I think SMU's gonna have enough on the field to be able to slow that down. So I really got it as a high scoring. I got SMU getting 42. I got Clemson getting 31 in this game, and a really a 10 to 11 point victory in this right here. And it's been a shootout game, which is gonna be fun to watch in a late night championship game for a spot in it. But the loser of this game is out. That's my really big take from it all. The loser of this game, I don't care if it's Clemson being your fourth loss or SMU being your second loss. You're done. Not coming back from it just because of who you are in the ACC.
Yep. Neither team survives. The losing team does not survive. They go home for sure. Winning team goes forward. A couple things. This game, y'all know better than me. Clemson's about 2 hours from Charlotte?
Yeah.
You know, this could be a pro Clemson crowd. Probably going to be a pro Clemson crowd.
They
right?
travel
well. SMU got they got a lot of ground to cover to get here for this game, not knowing, what the outcome's going to be. I think it was like 1987 when SMU was administered the death penalty, by the NCAA, and it's 2024. They're finally back to some sense of relevance. I think that's what the death penalty was designed to do, was to take you and choke you out to the point where your program would never, ever, ever pay anybody under the table again, even though that shit happened every year after that and before that. But I'll say this. Rhett Lashley is SMU's coach. He was the offensive coordinator under Gus Malzahn at Auburn at a point in time where Gus Malzahn was very innovative in his offensive mindset in saying, we're going to run more plays than you. We're going to go up tempo, and we're basically going to wear you out. We're a running football team. By the middle part of the third quarter and fourth quarter, you're going to be waving the white towel saying, I just can't take it no more. There's not enough depth on the other team to keep up. Now, that was in the SEC, and they had success, okay? I think what's happening here, and SMU is running more plays than most teams in college football today. That's still his system. His offensive system is still tempo, tempo, tempo. And when you're playing teams like Boston College and, the teams that they played, in the ACC this year, they played, what I would call a bottom half schedule in a bottom half league. You find yourself, when you're running up tempo, running 90 plays a game with some talent on your roster, you're going to have success, right? You're going to have success. It's like bringing the triple option into a conference that's never seen a triple option before. You're going to have some success until folks figure it out. Now, Dabo used to be a tempo guy. Dabo and his tempo is what got him over the hump against Bama a couple times. Now, granted, he had generational quarterbacks and receivers or whatnot, but it was still the tempo. Nick Saban was trying to catch up to the tempo But Dabo had tempo and athletes, and Nick was a little behind. That's what got Nick ahead eventually. Now, I say all that to say, can Dabo go back to being a college football head coach and coach against what he used to do to win a ball game that could possibly get him into a position to win a championship? I don't know. I've lost all faith in Dabo as a recruiter and coach, but he does have the recipe to do it. He can do it. I think he's got more talent. I think he's a better coach. Rhett Lashley done bounced around after Auburn. Rhett Lashley bounced around as an offensive coordinator here, there, whatever. Found the SMU job and just implemented his tempo with control. He controlled the show. He could do his thing, and it's working at SMU, playing the bottom half of a weak conference schedule. Now, if SMU ends up beating Clemson, which I don't think they're going to do, that would be go ahead and let Dabo go in the end zone. Go ahead and let him go. Go ahead and let him go. Because he's no longer good for Clemson. Okay. There's nothing else that he needs to do there. He's won a couple championships. He's been great. Dabo, thank you so much. You have no business losing to SMU this weekend. You have no business losing with your pedigree and where you've been, where you come from, and what you know. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give Dabo potentially his last flowers at Clemson. I'm going to give him the win here because of his pedigree and because of the fact that this is a quasi-home game, and you just are built for this situation. Do not let Rhett Lashley and SMU, who have basically been on probation since 1987, come into Charlotte and beat you Saturday night. Please, Dabo, don't do it. Otherwise, I think you will be headed back to Alabama, back home, not coaching, but back home to the farm, trying to figure out what's next.
All right. Well, hey, thank y'all for tuning in. Hey, stay around for the next one. We got Big 12 championship game coming up next.